Imagine engineering a medical device, right?
Mm.
Something that literally saves thousands of lives.
No.
Or maybe you're developing an algorithm that completely revolutionizes how a major city manages its power grid, only to have the U.S. government essentially stamp rejected on your talent visa. I mean, today we are looking at exactly why absolute geniuses fail on paper.
It happens, honestly, far more often than people realize.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. You have these brilliant innovators who are undeniably at the top of their field, yet their applications just collapse under scrutiny.
Wow.
Because they completely misunderstand how their expertise is actually being evaluated by the people making the decisions.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our deep dive today is looking at the hidden mechanics of merit-based immigration. And we are specifically talking about pathways like the EB-1A for extraordinary ability and the EB-2 NIW, which stands for National Interest Waiver.
Right.
We're pulling from some really fascinating materials created by Advance My Profile. And the mission today is to understand the critical difference between frantically checking bureaucratic boxes and engineering true, undeniable professional authority.
Yes.
Because whether you are navigating a global talent visa or, just trying to establish yourself as an indisputable expert in your industry, understanding how authority is actually constructed is a total game changer.
It really is. And what stands out immediately when you look at these failed applications is that the rejection rarely has anything to do with a lack of technical talent.
Oh, okay. So it's not that they aren't smart enough.
Exactly. Professionals fail because their positioning just lacks structure.
Yes.
They rely on standard templates and, generic advice that prioritizes convenience over strategy.
Right.
They think they're building a professional profile, but they're actually just hoarding paperwork.
Oh, hoarding paperwork. Let's dig into that hoarding mentality, actually, because I think it's the trap most people fall into.
It is.
When someone decides they want to prove they are an expert, the instinct is just to, be seen everywhere doing everything.
Which is the exact opposite of what you should do.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, you can spot a generic profile instantly.
What does that look like?
It usually looks like surface-level visibility masquerading as defensible authority.
Oh.
So, for instance, a professional might submit random publications that have absolutely nothing to do with their core expertise.
Just to say they published something.
Exactly. Or they include paid media placements.
Oh, right.
Those articles you essentially buy your way into.
Yeah, like those sponsored posts.
Exactly. And those carry zero actual industry weight.
I see that all the time. Or they list these non-selective memberships.
Oh, yes.
They join an organization where the only actual requirement for entry is a pulse and a $50 annual fee.
Right, just to get the logo on their resume.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They are choosing activities just to tick a box rather than to build any measurable impact.
And that is what the sources call the criteria ticking trap.
It is fatal.
Fatal to the application.
Absolutely. It's a reactive approach where an applicant presents their regular everyday job responsibilities as extraordinary achievements.
Right.
Or they just dump a massive pile of disconnected evidence onto an adjudicator's desk with no cohesive story tying it together.
Okay, but wait. I need to challenge this premise for a second.
Sure.
If I am an immigration officer and my criteria specifically ask to see published material or, evidence that the applicant has served as a judge of the work of others.
Yeah, the standard categories.
Right. Why isn't snagging any judging role or getting an article published enough? Like, a publication is a publication. Doesn't that satisfy the requirement?
Well, that assumes the officer is simply doing an inventory check.
Oh, and they aren't.
They aren't. They are conducting a qualitative impact analysis.
Qualitative. Okay.
So an article published in a self-funded journal with zero readership doesn't prove you have extraordinary ability.
It just proves you know how to upload a PDF. Exactly. Merit-based evaluation isn't about accumulating documents. It's about demonstrating sustained recognition and contribution to a specific domain.
Ah, okay. So it's less like a grocery list and more like building a legal case for a courtroom.
That's the perfect way to put it.
Like, you don't just throw 20 random character witnesses at a judge and hope one sticks.
No, you don't.
Every single piece of evidence has to support a central thesis about your case. Or, in this situation, a thesis about your national importance.
I love that courtroom analogy.
Yeah.
Because in a legal setting, a blurry photograph doesn't hold the same weight as a forensic DNA test.
Right.
Even though both are technically classified as evidence.
Oh, that's such a good point.
The adjudicator is evaluating the weight and significance of the document. So if you arrange a judging role at, say, a local middle school science fair,
Yeah.
It holds no weight compared to being invited to peer review research for a top-tier academic journal in your specific niche.
Wow, okay. Which brings us to the people actually staring at these files, right? The adjudicators.
Yeah.
If we want to understand why the grocery list approach fails, we have to look at the psychology of the decision makers.
We do, and they operate on strict evaluation logic.
Evaluation logic, meaning what exactly?
Meaning they are essentially immune to marketing perception.
Oh, interesting.
An adjudicator is sitting there looking for proof that your impact matters to the nation's competitiveness.
Right.
They are not particularly interested in your internal job success or how much your company's bottom line improved this quarter. Unless you can prove that success translates to a broader national interest.
Ah. And that national interest waiver, the NIW we mentioned earlier, that is heavily dependent on that specific concept, isn't it?
Absolutely, heavily dependent.
Yeah.
The U.S. government offers the NIWs as a strategic tool for national competitiveness.
Okay.
They're willing to waive the usual requirement of having a specific job offer if you can prove your proposed future endeavor will benefit the United States on a macro level.
A macro level, so they're looking way past your employer.
Exactly. So the adjudicator is asking very specific questions, like, has this professional influenced the field beyond their current employer? Is the recognition coming from credible, independent third parties?
So they want to know if your work is actually shifting the industry or if you are just a really good employee.
Right. Because a really good employee is valuable to a CEO, but not necessarily to the national interest.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, that is why transforming raw experience into defensible credibility requires something the sources call evidence architecture.
Evidence architecture. Okay, let's make that concrete. Walk me through what bad evidence architecture looks like versus good evidence architecture.
Okay, let's invent a hypothetical professional.
All right.
We'll call her Sarah.
Okay, Sarah.
She is a brilliant software engineer working on artificial intelligence for renewable energy grids.
Very relevant right now.
Exactly. Now, if Sarah uses bad evidence architecture, she takes her Employee of the Month certificate, a random blog post she wrote about basic coding, and maybe a patent she filed that her company owns but has never actually used.
Okay.
And she just tosses it into her application.
And hopes for the best.
Right. Her accomplishments are fragmented. Her impact is totally undocumented.
So to an immigration officer, her expertise just looks messy and, well, disconnected.
Exactly. Now let's apply strong evidence architecture.
Okay, what does Sarah do differently?
Sarah doesn't just present the patent.
She doesn't.
No. She maps that patent directly to the Department of Energy's stated goals for grid resilience.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's a big shift.
It is. And then she provides independent citations showing that researchers at a national laboratory are actually using the framework from her patent to build their own models.
Right.
She categorizes her contributions logically, and she shows a chronological progression of her influence.
So she is essentially curating the experience for the adjudicator. And the takeaway here is that immigration officers interpret clarity as credibility. Like, if the narrative is tightly woven, the authority feels undeniable.
That's spot on, which highlights a really profound distinction in how professionals present themselves. Most people chase visibility, assuming it's the exact same thing as authority.
Oh, man. Here's where it gets really interesting, because those two concepts are entirely different beasts.
They really are.
Like, visibility can be purchased, but authority must be built.
So true. And so many highly capable professionals confuse having an active online presence with having actual industry recognition.
Yeah, visibility is PR spin. It's paying thousands of dollars to be featured in, like a Forbes Council or some generic tech magazine. It focuses on short-term exposure and just surface-level engagement.
Exactly.
Entirely self-published, really. And to an adjudicator looking for objective proof of your brilliance, self-published visibility is incredibly weak.
Weak, and sometimes even a red flag, because authority, true authority, reflects independent validation.
Independent validation.
It shows recognized contribution and measurable impact. True authority is never self-declared.
Right.
It has to be validated by a third party who has absolutely nothing to gain by praising you.
So what does that look like in practice? Like, how does Sarah, our AI energy engineer, prove authority rather than just visibility?
It starts with defining her niche. She isn't just a software engineer.
Right, that's way too broad.
Way too broad. She needs to position herself as a leading expert in, let's say, AI-driven predictive modeling for load balancing in renewable energy grids.
Wow, okay, that is highly specific.
It has to be, because once she defines that highly specific domain, every single action she takes must reinforce it.
So instead of speaking at some massive generalized tech summit where she is, I don't know, one of 500 voices talking about the future of software,
Right.
she should speak at a highly selective niche symposium focused specifically on grid infrastructure AI.
That is exactly the mechanism. Because speaking at the General Summit, that might get her a nice photo for her LinkedIn profile.
Which is visibility.
That's visibility. But speaking at the niche symposium means she was selected by a committee of her peers to share her specific insights with other actual experts.
Ah.
That is peer validation. That is authority.
And the adjudicator absolutely sees that distinction.
They do. They look for measurable impact. They ask, are your innovations adopted as best practices across the entire industry?
Right.
Is your research influencing policy or standards?
Yeah.
Citations are a perfect example of this. When someone else in your field publishes research and cites your work, they are essentially telling the government, this person's work is foundational. I cannot build my own theories without referencing theirs.
That is undeniable third-party validation because you can't buy a citation in a legitimate academic journal.
You really can't.
It has to be earned entirely through merit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this brings us to the actual journey of building this profile. Because it is not something you can just hack together in a weekend.
Oh, definitely not.
It is a deliberate progression.
Okay, let's walk through that life cycle,
Okay.
the roadmap. Because if you can't just jump into collecting documents, where does the process actually start, like practically?
The very first phase is a brutal, honest assessment of your starting position.
Brutal and honest.
Yes. You have to look in the mirror and evaluate your educational foundation, your career progression, and any actual recognition you currently hold.
You need to know if the foundation is even there before you decide to pursue an EB1A or an NIW.
Right.
I imagine good agencies and advisors will actually turn you away if you aren't ready.
They will. And they should. Which saves you from wasting thousands of dollars on legal fees for a case that is literally doomed to fail.
That makes sense.
Ethical practitioners operate on that model because throwing money at profile building won't magically create a viable case if the underlying expertise just doesn't exist.
Right. You can't polish air.
Exactly. But if the foundation is solid, the next phase is building the customized roadmap.
And we established that generic templates are basically a death sentence here.
A complete death sentence. The roadmap has to define your profession-specific positioning. It identifies the gaps in your recognition and lays out a strategy for industry participation that actually makes sense for your niche.
So you are essentially building a blueprint for evidence documentation from day one.
A1.
And once you have the blueprint, you enter the active phase, cultivating that recognition.
Right.
But the crucial point here, from what the sources say, is that this recognition should evolve naturally from your professional engagement. You aren't doing artificial promotion.
No, artificial promotion.
Yeah.
We're talking about activities like academic publishing, securing speaking engagements at those legitimate industry conferences we discussed,
Right.
or taking on policy advisory roles.
Yeah.
And this usually takes, honestly, 12 to 18 months of deliberate effort.
Wow, okay. A year to a year and a half. How do you ensure those activities actually translate to immigration relevance, though? I can imagine someone spending a whole year writing papers that an adjudicator ultimately just ignores.
Well, that's where the strategy comes in. Every single activity has to pull double duty.
Double duty. How so?
It must strengthen your credibility within your specific industry while simultaneously checking the boxes of the evaluation logic.
Give me an example.
So you don't just review papers to be nice. You join the editorial board of a journal that specifically publishes research on your exact niche,
Right.
ensuring you have documented proof of judging the work of others in your specific domain.
That's brilliant. It's so intentional. Like every move is calculated to strengthen that central thesis, just like the legal case we talked about earlier.
Exactly. Which leads to the final phase, compiling the narrative. Because when you actually sit down to file the petition, the entire dynamic changes if you've done the groundwork correctly.
Changes how?
It transforms from a defensive justification into an organized presentation.
Oh, I like that phrasing. A defensive justification is basically when you submit that messy pile of documents, cross your fingers, and essentially beg the adjudicator to figure out why you matter.
Yes, please figure out my life for me.
Right. But an organized presentation.
An organized presentation is tightly woven narrative. It includes strategic drafting of the petition, careful development of the proposed endeavor for the NIW, and a highly deliberate strategy for your recommendation letters.
Okay, let's pause on the recommendation letters, actually, because those seem like a place where a lot of people stumble.
Oh, constantly.
I mean, they just go to their current boss and ask for a letter saying they are a great employee.
Which is a huge mistake. A letter from your boss is the weakest form of evidence.
Really?
The weakest.
Yes, because it's an internal, subjective opinion from someone who actively pays you.
Of course they're going to say nice things.
Right. A strategic recommendation letter comes from an independent industry expert,
Okay.
perhaps someone at a competing firm or a researcher at a major university. Someone who has never actually worked with you, but who knows your name because your work has impacted their projects.
Wow. That is the gold standard of third-party validation.
It really is.
Yeah.
And when you have that level of evidence architecture, even responding to pushback from immigration services becomes a totally different experience.
Right, because sometimes you receive an RFE, a request for evidence from USCIS.
Yes, the dreaded RFE.
Which usually induces a state of pure panic for the
Well,
applicant.
absolutely. For an unprepared applicant, yes.
Mhm.
It feels like the walls are closing in.
Like it's all over.
Right.
Right.
But when your authority is built correctly, handling an RFE becomes just strategic maneuver.
Because you aren't scrambling to invent new reasons why you are important.
Exactly. You are simply clarifying the robust architecture you already built. The evidence is already there.
What I find most interesting about this entire process is the psychological shift it forces on the professional.
It's massive. It fundamentally changes how you view your own career.
Yeah.
Because when you execute this progression correctly, profile building ceases to be just a tactical maneuver to satisfy an immigration officer.
It's not just a hoop to jump through.
No. The visa approval becomes almost secondary.
It becomes a lifelong career strategy.
Exactly. The actual process of engineering that authority yields so much more than just global mobility. You walk away with enhanced industry credibility, stronger leadership positioning, and fundamentally expanded career opportunities.
Because you've actually become the expert you were trying to prove you were.
You aren't just trying to relocate. You are becoming an undeniable force in your profession.
Yeah, and most professionals do not lack capability. They are genuinely brilliant at what they do.
They really are.
They just lack the structured positioning to prove it to a system that demands objective evidence.
So if we zoom out and look at the big picture of everything we've explored today,
Yeah.
the takeaway is incredibly clear. Real authority is not something you can fake with a generic template or a purchased PR campaign.
Definitely not.
It is relentlessly evidence-driven, it is independently validated by third parties, and it must be strategically architected.
So what does this all mean for the learner listening right now? Well, whether you are prepping a petition for a talent visa or you simply want to advance your standing in your field, you have to stop collecting paperwork. And you have to start building a cohesive legal case for your own expertise.
You have to step out of the visibility mindset and truly commit to the harder but honestly far more rewarding work of building true authority.
We have covered a massive amount of ground today, from the pitfalls of criteria ticking to the deep psychology of how adjudicators actually evaluate national interest. But I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over.
Okay.
Something that stress tests everything we've discussed about independent validation.
It is the ultimate diagnostic question for your professional profile.
Think about this. If your current employer suddenly ceased to exist tomorrow,
Wow.
if the company completely vanished, your job title disappeared, and all internal performance reviews were just burned.
What's left?
Exactly. What independently validated evidence would remain out there in the world to prove your extraordinary expertise?
That is the true measure of your authority.
Let that one sink in.